Have you ever scratched an itch that just wouldn't quit, thinking it's just dry skin or maybe a new soap you tried? For those of us over 60, it's easy to wave off little annoyances like that, chalking them up to aging or a change in the weather. But what if that one persistent, itchy spot on your body is trying to tell you something far more serious, something like cancer? I'm not here to scare you, but to share a truth that could save your life. Sometimes the smallest signals, like an itch that won't go away, are your body's way of whispering for help before it has to shout. As seniors, we've learned to trust our instincts over the years, and today I'm going to help you tune into one specific warning sign that too many of us overlook. In this video, we're diving into one critical itchy spot on your body that could be an early warning sign of cancer, especially for those of us in our 60s, 70s, 80s, or even beyond. This isn't about every random itch. It's about a specific kind that doctors have linked to serious conditions like lymphoma or skin cancer, often months before other symptoms show up. I'll walk you through why this spot matters, what makes the itch different, and how to know when it's time to talk to your doctor. Plus, I'll share a story from someone just like you who caught a problem early because they paid attention. By the end, you'll know exactly what to look for and what steps to take to protect your health. This is about empowerment, not fear, because noticing the small things can make all the difference in living your best years. Let's start with the one itchy spot you absolutely need to check: the skin on your lower legs, especially around your shins and calves. Now, I know what you're thinking: my legs get itchy sometimes, especially in winter when the air's dry, or maybe after a long day in tight socks. And you're right, most itches are harmless. But there's a kind of itch that's different, one that doesn't play by the usual rules. It's not just a surface tickle that goes away with a bit of lotion. It's deep nagging, sometimes even burning, and it keeps coming back, especially at night. This kind of itch, particularly on the lower legs, has been linked to blood-related cancers like Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it's something too many seniors dismiss as just another sign of getting older. Why does this happen? It's all about what's going on inside your body. Lymphomas, which start in the lymphatic system, think of it as your body's cleanup crew, can release inflammatory chemicals into your bloodstream as cancer cells multiply. These chemicals irritate the nerves under your skin, especially in areas like the lower legs, where nerve endings are dense. The result, an itch that feels like it's coming from inside, not just on the surface. You might look at your legs and see nothing: no rash, no redness, no dryness to explain it. That's the tricky part. It's like your body's sending a coded message, and if you don't know the code, you might miss it. Let me tell you about Margaret, an 82-year-old grandmother I met at a community health talk. She was the kind of woman who never complained, always busy knitting blankets for her grandkids or tending her garden. For months, she'd been waking up at night scratching her shins until they felt raw. She tried every cream in her medicine cabinet, even switched to a hypoallergenic soap, but nothing worked. At first, she thought it was just her old skin acting up, but when she mentioned it to her doctor during a routine checkup, he took it seriously. Blood tests showed some unusual white cell counts, and further scans found early-stage lymphoma. Margaret caught it early because she spoke up about that one stubborn itch. Today, she's managing her treatment and still knitting those blankets, all because she didn't ignore what seemed like a small thing. What makes this itch different from the usual? It's persistent. Think weeks or months, not days. It doesn't respond to lotions or antihistamines. It might get worse at night, keeping you up, or feel like a deep irritation you can't quite reach. And here's the kicker: it's often paired with other subtle clues, like feeling more tired than usual night sweats or losing a few pounds without trying. As seniors, we're used to brushing off aches and quirks, but this is one spot where paying attention can be a game changer. If you've got an itch on your lower legs that's been hanging around too long, don't wait. Make a note of how long it's been, what it feels like, and whether anything else feels off. Then call your doctor and say, "I've got this itch that won't quit. Can we check it out?" That simple conversation could be the key to catching something early. Now let's move to another reason this itchy spot deserves your attention. It's not always about cancer, but it's always worth checking. Sometimes that same deep itch on the lower legs can point to other issues like liver problems or even thyroid imbalances, which are also more common as we age. The liver, for example, can cause itching when it's struggling to process toxins, sending signals to the skin. I remember talking to a retired teacher, Tom, who was 74 and loved his daily walks. He noticed his calves were itchy for weeks no matter how much he moisturized. He assumed it was from new walking shoes rubbing his skin. But when he got blood work done for a routine physical, his doctor noticed elevated liver enzymes. Turns out it wasn't cancer, but a liver issue that needed attention. The itch was his body's way of waving a flag, and because he didn't ignore it, he got help in time. What I love about stories like Margaret's and Tom's is that they remind us our bodies are always talking to us. They're just not always loud about it. As we get older, those signals can get quieter, more subtle, and it's up to us to listen. The lower legs are a hotspot for these signals because they're far from the heart, where circulation and nerve responses can show changes first. If you're noticing that itch, don't just reach for another tube of cream. Take a moment to ask yourself, is this different? Is it sticking around? Does it feel deeper than usual? Then take action. Write it down. Talk to your doctor and don't be afraid to push for answers. You've lived long enough to know your body better than anyone trusts that wisdom. Let's keep going with why this matters so much for us as seniors. Our bodies don't always send obvious alarms like they did when we were younger. Back in our 30s or 40s, a problem might have come with pain or a clear sign you couldn't miss. But now in our 60s and beyond, the signs can be sneaky little whispers like an itch that doesn't make sense. That's why I'm so passionate about sharing this with you. One small step, like noticing that itchy spot on your lower legs and acting on it, can mean more years with your family, more mornings in your garden, more moments doing what you love. So if you're still with me and finding this helpful, drop one in the comments to let me know you're here. Let's keep moving forward to dig deeper into why this one spot could be your body's loudest whisper yet. Now that we've talked about why that stubborn itch on your lower legs could be more than just dry skin, let's dive deeper into what makes this symptom so critical for those of us over 60. The lower legs aren't just a random spot. They're like a billboard your body uses to flash early warnings, especially when it comes to serious conditions like cancer. But it's not just about recognizing the itch. It's about understanding what your body's trying to tell you and knowing exactly what to do next. So let's keep going with how this one itchy spot can reveal more than you might expect and how you can take charge of your health with confidence. One of the reasons that itch on your shins or calves can be so telling is because it's often tied to changes deep inside your body, not just on the surface. When cancers like lymphoma start to develop, they don't always announce themselves with big obvious signs like pain or lumps. Instead, they can trigger subtle reactions like those inflammatory chemicals we mentioned earlier that irritate your nerves in specific areas. The lower legs are especially prone because they're far from your heart, where blood flow and nerve signals can get disrupted first. Think of it like a distant outpost in your body. It's one of the first places to pick up static when something's off in the system. For seniors, this is crucial because our bodies don't always send loud alarms anymore. That itch might be the only clue you get for months, and catching it early can mean the difference between a treatable condition and something much harder to manage. Let's talk about what this itch feels like so you can spot it. It's not the kind of itch you get from a mosquito bite or a new pair of wool socks. It's deeper, almost like it's coming from under the skin, and it's relentless. You might notice it more at night when you're trying to sleep, or it might flare up after a warm shower. Lotions don't help, and scratching only makes it worse sometimes, leaving your skin red, but still not solving the problem. I met a man named Harold, a 78-year-old retired mechanic, who described it perfectly. He said it felt like his calves were on fire inside for weeks. He'd slather on every cream he could find, but nothing touched it. Finally, he mentioned it to his doctor during a checkup for his blood pressure. That led to tests that caught early signs of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Harold's still tinkering with his old cars today because he didn't let that itch slide. His story reminds us that paying attention to something small can keep you doing what you love for years to come. But here's where it gets even more important. This itch isn't always about cancer. Other conditions common in seniors like kidney issues or even diabetes can also cause persistent itching in the lower legs. When your kidneys aren't filtering properly, toxins can build up in your blood, irritating your skin from the inside out. Diabetes, too, can mess with nerve signals, especially in the legs, causing that same deep, nagging itch. I remember chatting with Clara, a 71-year-old who loved her weekly bridge games. She noticed her shins itching for months and thought it was just her skin getting thinner with age. But when she started feeling more tired than usual and noticed her ankles swelling, she got checked out. Turns out her kidneys were struggling, and addressing it early helped her get back to her card table with her friends. The point is, whether it's cancer or something else, that itch is like a smoke signal. Your body's way of saying, hey, look closer. So what should you do if you've got this kind of itch? First, don't panic. Not every itch means something serious, but the persistent ones deserve your attention. Start by keeping a simple log. Jot down when the itching started, how often it happens and what it feels like. Does it wake you up at night? Does it feel deep or surface level? Any other changes like feeling more tired, losing weight without trying, or night sweats? These details are gold when you talk to your doctor. Next, don't just keep slathering on creams, test the itch. Try a fragrance-free moisturizer for a week. If it doesn't help, that's a clue it's not just dry skin. Then make that call to your doctor. Say something like, I've got this itch on my legs that's been going on for weeks, and it's not responding to anything. Can we run some tests? Most doctors will appreciate your specificity. It helps them know where to start. Another thing to keep in mind is how our bodies change as we age. In our 60s, 70s, or beyond, our skin gets thinner, and our immune system doesn't always react the way it used to. That means symptoms like itching can be the first sign of something brewing, whether it's cancer or another condition. I've seen too many folks like my neighbor Ellen, who's 85, dismiss these signs because they don't want to bother their doctor. Ellen had an itchy patch on her calf for months and thought it was just her new laundry detergent. When she finally got it checked, a simple blood test led to early treatment for a thyroid issue. She's back to her daily walks with her dog, all because she spoke up. Your doctor's there to help, not judge, so don't hesitate to bring up what seems like a small thing. What I love about sharing this with you is that it's not about living in fear, it's about living with awareness. You've got decades of wisdom and you know your body better than anyone. That itch on your lower legs might be nothing, or it might be everything. Either way, you deserve to know. So if you're finding this helpful, drop a 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. Let's keep going to explore more about why this one spot could be your body's way of waving a flag and how you can act on it with confidence. We've been talking about that one itchy spot on your lower legs that could be your body's way of sending a signal. And I hope you're starting to see how powerful it is to listen to those quiet whispers. For those of us in our 60s, 70s, 80s, or even beyond, our bodies don't always wave big red flags when something's wrong. Instead, they drop subtle hints like that persistent itch on your shins or calves that can point to serious issues like lymphoma or other health concerns. Now let's wrap this up by diving into how you can take this knowledge and turn it into action, plus a few final thoughts on why this one spot matters so much. My goal is to leave you feeling empowered, not worried, because you have the wisdom and strength to take charge of your health. One of the biggest reasons that itch on your lower legs deserves your attention is because it's often a clue that something's out of balance deep inside. We've talked about how lymphomas can trigger this by releasing chemicals that irritate your nerves. But let's zoom in on why this happens in seniors specifically. As we age, our immune system and circulation slow down a bit, which means problems like cancer or even other conditions can show up in sneaky ways. The lower legs are like the body's early warning system. Because they're farther from the heart, they're one of the first places to feel the effects of inflammation or nerve changes. That itch might not look like much, but it's your body's way of saying, hey, something's up, and I need you to check it out. Ignoring it is like ignoring a smoke detector beeping in your house. You wouldn't do that, right? Let me share a story about someone who learned this the hard way but came out stronger. Dorothy, a 76-year-old who loved her weekly book club, started noticing an itch on her calves that just wouldn't quit. She'd always been active, walking her neighborhood every morning, so she thought maybe her new sneakers were to blame. She tried changing her socks, using different lotions, even soaking her legs in oatmeal baths. Nothing worked. The itch was deep, almost like a tingle that kept her up at night. Finally, after months of brushing it off, she mentioned it to her doctor during a routine visit. That led to a blood test, which showed some abnormal cell counts and eventually a diagnosis of early-stage lymphoma. Dorothy's treatment was tough, but because she caught it before it spread too far, she's back to her book club, debating novels with her friends. Her story stuck with me because it shows how one small symptom, something as ordinary as an itch, can be the key to catching something big. What I want you to take away from Dorothy's story is this: you don't need to be a doctor to know when something feels off. You've lived in your body for decades, and you know when it's trying to tell you something. That itch on your lower legs might not be cancer. It could be a circulation issue, a reaction to medication, or even a sign of dehydration, which is common as we get older. But the fact that it's persistent, that it doesn't respond to the usual fixes, is your cue to dig deeper. Here's how you can do that. First, pay attention to the pattern. Does the itch come and go, or is it there every day? Does it feel surface level, or is it deeper, like it's in your bones? Does it get worse at certain times, like after a hot shower or at night? Write these details down. They're like pieces of a puzzle that can help your doctor figure out what's going on. Next, don't be afraid to speak up. I know it's tempting to think it's just an itch, I don't want to bother anyone, but your health is worth bothering about. When you talk to your doctor, be specific. Say something like, I've had this itch on my shins for 6 weeks. It's deep, it's worse at night, and no creams are helping. Can we look into it? That kind of clarity helps your doctor know where to start, whether it's a blood test, a skin check, or something else. And don't stop at one visit if you're still worried. Keep asking questions until you get answers. You've earned the right to be heard, and your peace of mind matters. Another thing to keep in mind is that this itch can sometimes be a sign of other changes we face as seniors. For example, medications we take for blood pressure or cholesterol can sometimes cause skin reactions, including itching. Even something as simple as not drinking enough water can make your skin more sensitive, especially in the legs. I remember talking to a man named Frank, an 80-year-old who loved fishing. He had an itchy spot on his calf that he thought was from sitting in the sun too long. But when he mentioned it to his doctor, they realized it was a side effect of a new medication he'd started. A quick adjustment to his prescription, plus a reminder to stay hydrated, and the itch was gone. Frank's back to casting his line every weekend, all because he didn't let that small signal slide. As we close out, I want to remind you that your body's always talking to you, and it's never too late to listen. That one itchy spot on your lower legs isn't just a nuisance. It's a message, maybe about cancer, maybe about something else, but always worth checking. You've got the power to notice these small signs and act on them, and that's what makes all the difference. If any of this felt familiar, don't wait. Grab a notebook, jot down what you're feeling, and make that call to your doctor. You deserve to know what's going on, and you deserve to keep enjoying the life you've built, whether it's gardening, reading, fishing, or just laughing with your grandkids. If you found this video helpful, drop a 3 in the comments to let me know you made it to the end. Share one thing you learned today, or a step you're going to take to stay on top of your health. Your stories inspire me, and they'll inspire others too. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss more tips like this. Here's to living your best life at any age, with the confidence that you're listening to your body and taking care of you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.